Welcome, tractor friends. We are putting wheel spacers on this Mahindra for two main reasons. The first is because I can't fit tire chains on the rear because the wheels are too close to the frame. But the second reason is actually gutturally raw and deeply rooted for us. Because my wife's grandfather was killed in a tractor rollover. Yes, the grandfather of that lady right there inside the cab. Now her dad was about 8 years old at the time and actually found him right after the rollover. And he was just a little kid. And Don's grandfather survived long enough to make it to the hospital, but did not survive the surgery from too many internal bleeding sources. And I'm not telling you this story to scare you or make you sad, but this is a real life example of how we need to be doing everything we can to avoid putting our own families in that kind of situation. And here she's wiping her forehead because going down that little hill was a little bit nerve-wracking for her. And we can't just say, well, I'll be very careful, because that's just not enough. For us, wheel spacers are the first step in the right direction. Okay guys, getting these wheel spacers on. The Mahindra 2555. Finally, I should have put them on this winter so I could run my rear chains. But I really didn't need them where we lived in Colorado because we lived in a flat valley. There's a lot of uneven terrain around here, hills, and this road is one of our driveways. The other driveway's up there, so there's a lot of transitioning back behind the garage here. Anyway, so if you live on uneven hilly terrain, you know what I'm talking about. A couple things. I put this off because I couldn't see a couple things in my mind, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. I got a nice sunny day though. I got a couple hours. I'm trying to get this done. I've got this one on, and this one is not on. So you can see how close those metal pieces are, those supports are for the cab, and even the backhoe mount right there to the side I haven't done compared to the side that I have done. So it does make a significant difference. Am I gonna feel it? I don't know, because just rolling down this little road right here with the tractor, it feels tippy, and I'm always like, whoa, I feel nervous that I'm gonna roll it. And there's so many videos of rolling tractors online, but hopefully this will help. These are only 2-inch spacers. They're from Bro-Tek, and the 2-inch, 2 inches on that side, 2 inches, so it's 4 inches wider total. I thought I might want to go bigger, but I don't know. So I ended up settling on 2. If I feel like it's not enough, maybe I'll go wider. We can also put them on the front. I don't know how that affects steering though, or if it's going to affect steering very much, but I thought about putting them on the front as well. Because you can see with this, right now the outside of the tires line up front to back with the side that's not done. With the side that's done, it does stick out a little bit. Okay. These tires aren't light either, and I kept wanting to build something in my mind, like a dolly that I could bring up here with legs that would go underneath the tire, and then I could rock the dolly back and lift the tire off and then roll it back and set it down and get out of the way and then put it back on easy. But I found a method that seemed to work pretty well, and I'll show you that in a minute. And if you're doing a job like this, there's a couple things that do make your life easier. This is something I wish they'd come out with a long time ago, and it's not just that it's an off-road jack from Harbor Freight, but and these treads don't do anything for you at all, but it does roll around in the gravel very easily. So I love, if you're on a homestead or property where you're on gravel and you're working on stuff, this thing is a total lifesaver. Yeah, high lifts work. They've got their problems. That's not to say this doesn't have its problems, but this is so easy, especially with this piece right here that allows you to jack even further. So we just roll it underneath here, get it right underneath the frame there, and we don't have to jack it very high. That's enough right there. We'll slide this little jack stand into the frame as well, just as an extra backup. The other thing I want to show you that just made my life so much easier, I just did struts on a pickup in the garage, and setting all your tools in this little tool caddy has wheels. You can roll it. This is just a cheap one from Harbor Freight, and I can't remember, it's $10 or $15 or something. Put all your tools on it, finish one side, roll it to the other side, all your tools are on it. You're not going back and forth and back and forth. Obviously it doesn't roll around in the gravel very well, but I just pick it up and carry it. I throw all my tools, my parts don't end up in the dirt, all the parts here, all the extra sockets and things. It just makes life a lot easier. If you don't have one, get one. I don't get anything from Harbor Freight. Just know that for either of these tools, I just like them. And it doesn't matter what brand you get. There's a bunch of brands that make this off-road jack now. And I even made a DIY one if you want to check that out on my channel. And it works really well. I just don't have the lift post on it. So, and I really like that about the Badland jack. So it doesn't matter what brand you get. These are just things that make my life easier that I wish I'd gotten a long time ago. So these are just bolts that are coming off. We're not reusing these. Except for here, there's 2 nuts. And those are gonna be a little bit of a pain to get the studs out, but I'll show you how I'm doing that. Now this can be hazardous, right? Because these tractor tires are super heavy. And so I like to leave at least 1 bolt in until I can kind of get situated and get my body in a position where if it does fall over, it's not gonna slam on top of me. Now, when we're looking at this tire, there's no flare here, right? These are flat. They're just holes. There's no flared, there's no flange at all for a tapered nut to go into. So just keep that in mind as we're looking at the kit, because this is what was confusing me. I knew what this looked like, and I kept looking at the bolts that they sent me and the nuts they sent me and says, how's this going to work? So let's look at it. Basically, Bro-Tek sent 12 of these studs. So 6 for each side, 12 washers, and 12 of these nuts, and they are tapered, but you don't put the taper toward the, and maybe in some applications you do, but in this application you don't. You put this flat side toward the wheel. Now these studs we need to remove. We're going to use the 2 nuts that we took off of them to get the studs off. So we'll just thread one on here. All the way down. We'll thread the second one on top of it. We're going to use the impact just to tighten this outer one onto the inner one. So don't put it on all the way, obviously. And we got lucky there because it almost lines up perfectly. So now hopefully we can get them both off. Okay, that did the job. Now I've got to take this, I'm going to put this lower one in the vise, break this upper one off, get both of them off, and we'll put them on the other stud and get that one off. Okay, now for the second one, the inner nut and the outer nut edges didn't line up. So what I did was I just tightened it a tiny bit more just to get them just the opposite of each other. And now my 7/8 wrench will fit over both of them easily. Of course, you could always put the wrench on and then tighten this one down and then use your wrench. Problem is, you got to like really pound on the wrench for a while because this doesn't just like loosen up and then spin off by hand. So your 7/8 12-point socket will fit over both of them just like that. Now we'll be able to pull it off. So 12 points do have their place sometimes. So the direction, so this is not an exhaustive tutorial here. This is not to replace the directions. Please read the directions because they are very thorough and very good, very informative. They've written well, really good directions. But do test fit everything. So this does fit my flange here really easily. I've already checked this on the other side, so all the bolt holes do line up. We're also going to check it on the back of the wheel here to make sure that it goes in place. And it's a good fit. And you can feel this flange that sticks out right there, sits right inside here perfectly. Okay, now maybe I'm overdoing it, but I'm going to put blue Loctite in all these holes. And also on the bolts. Okay, and check all your bolts as well to make sure they test fit also. Run them down the threads, make sure the threads line up and all that. So notice this is tapered and this is tapered inside here. So all 6 of these bolts go through here, which is different than what we disassembled, okay? So they're all going through the same direction. Now these on this application, this is 3/4. And we're gonna torque them to, so the final foot-pounds that they want you to torque these to for this application is 140. Now, so they say tighten them down by hand, and then tighten them to 70 foot-pounds, and then 140 foot-pounds. Well, they say tighten them to 140 foot-pounds, but the second step is tighten them to half the final foot-pounds, if that makes sense, which is 70 in this case. I got it. Okay, up and away. Yep.
More?
Okay, now push the bar toward me. Yep. Perfect.
We're experts. What can we say?
Okay, so we're just going to get some Loctite on these. Now the process for these is washers first, nut second. Okay, and in this case, of course, this is flat. There's no taper on the wheel itself, so we're putting the flat part of the nut toward the, of course, you wouldn't be using a washer against a flare anyway, right? So that's why we're using the washer here, and then the flat part of the nut toward the inside. And these get torqued in the same fashion. So definitely wider. Hopefully this feels a little bit better too. I think that, yep. I think that the other thing I need to do though is get some fluid in these tires. And that'll get me a lot more weight down low and give me better bite and better traction when I need it also. But also give me that lower center of gravity. So that's gonna have to be the next project. Because tipping this on its side wouldn't be fun. I mean, it'd probably be easy, but getting it back upright wouldn't be fun. Okay guys, whatever you do about wheel spacers, whatever you decide, just don't do like I did and wait till the dead of winter to realize, oh, I need tire chains. And then realize also that, oh, my tire chains won't fit because my tires are too close to the frame and I need wheel spacers. So now the project just got twice as hard. And if you can keep from doing that, you'll be doing good. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.